This is Help Me Understand. I'm Daniel Schmidt.
I'm Sean Tucker.
And we've just decided to start a podcast because... And we think we're calling it... The Appreciation of Understanding.
The Appreciation of Understanding. Why?
Yeah, if the description of this episode changes by the time we post it, we have come up with a different title. But
yeah.
The reason why is because I was saying that one of the wisest things I ever heard say to me by a college professor was, when someone doesn't like something, it means they don't understand it.
Yeah.
So he said, I don't like equals I don't understand.
Yeah.
So we wanted to have a conversation in which we understand what the other person likes about certain things about life, and then even if like I don't like something and then you explain to me why you like it, then I'd be able to understand and appreciate
for sure
why you like it.
I like the idea. I mean, it's an interesting quote.
This is actually episode 1B, and if you're trying to find 1A, we've hidden it because we actually yesterday just goofed off and had a long conversation, which was like 45 minutes long.
It was 45 minutes.
And we just kind of went nowhere, but we talked about a lot of things.
We talked about that stuff.
Like Star Wars.
We got it kicked off, you know.
Lord of the Rings.
New movie coming out.
Twilight. I don't know why we talked about Twilight.
It's because we didn't like Twilight. That's the thing.
we have to have a...
We're trying not to,
Right.
Trying to kick it off. So... Did you hear about that new movie coming out? The Lord of the Rings, like War of Rohirrim, I think?
I heard about it yesterday when we talked about it.
They don't know that, Dan. They don't know that. It's a new topic to them. But no,
no, because I thought you were talking about the Amazon show.
No, yeah, that one too. It looks pretty interesting. I don't know. They just started shooting, I think.
Which I said I wasn't going to check out unless I heard it was really good. And I have really low expectations, which helps me appreciate things.
You gotta lowball it sometimes, you know? Especially with things that are new. And like from like, what? When was the last movie of the Lord of the Rings came out?
2003. December.
You know?
I will say that 2001, December 18th, 2001, changed my life. Fellowship of the Ring. I mean, I saw it at Cinema West in Flint in Theater 12.
What time?
It was like a 9:45 show.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Went with a big group of friends after like a Wednesday night church thing.
Wednesday night church thing plus Lord of the Rings.
Plus Lord of the Rings.
I remember when we used to go to see the Star Wars movies that were coming out.
As a big youth group, we went to
we go to SCG.
Episode 7.
Episode 7.
Yep.
Just went downhill from there.
Yep. No. But that we won't derail.
But you like the prequels.
Yes, I didn't want to start off with that, Sean.
Well, we're gonna have to start
out
with
it. I'm gonna scare people away if I start defending that.
We're at the door.
Actually, I'm gonna start with you. So,
we're
gonna start with you because I'm gonna deflect that.
Deflection.
I'm gonna repercuss there.
Okay.
We still might call this episode repercuss.
We still might.
Because we feel like podcasts are better when people share differing opinions and aren't just.
It's a little annoying to just hear people ramble on without
Yeah, and
they just build themselves an echo chamber of just.
Right, and so we were going to call episode 1A Repercuss.
Repercuss, because
we still might air that eventually as a bonus episode.
It's like 5 episodes.
You can buy the bonus episode for $500.
500 euros.
Yeah,
so it's
yeah.
All right.
So I wanted to add. So you said interests in your life are.
Oh, I like baseball.
You like baseball. What else do you like?
Video games.
Video games. You do scouting.
Scouting. Not a big interest anymore.
Okay.
I'm just kind of going through the motions, Just
okay.
Kind of until I finish, just get the Eagle, the Eagle badge, and
right.
go on to college, put it on my resume, stuff like that.
Yeah. So I got to pull out my notes because
I was gonna say just pull your notes.
Oh, and history. You said you liked history.
Yeah, history is pretty fun.
So okay, I'll start with. Actually, I'm going to start with podcasts because I forgot to write that down.
Yeah.
Because this is another reason why we started the podcast. And I don't want to start negatively because we're trying to appreciate. Yeah. I don't fully appreciate. I'll just say it that way. I don't fully appreciate podcasts, and I'm doing this podcast to try to understand podcasts.
Oh, for sure.
So I have listened to 2 podcasts in my life.
Describe them. What were they about?
One was about color. I don't understand how I listened to a podcast about color. It was a science podcast, and somehow they did an episode about color, but they sang about it. It was super cool.
So I think why you appreciate it was because the music side of it.
Could have been. It was just really well put together.
That's also true.
The other podcast I've listened to was called Revolutions, which was a spin-off podcast from the history of Rome. And I forget the guy's name, but it is super interesting podcast. And
sure.
when I do a long drive with my family to Pennsylvania, I listen to Revolutions, and I was super interested in like the Civil War, the English Civil War, the English Revolution with Cromwell and
whatnot.
Yeah.
Charles the First.
I think so. We should have looked that up.
You should have. I'm pretty sure what you're talking about.
Yeah,
is
it was super
Oliver
interesting.
Cromwell, because then Charles the First, and then like somebody, I think it was like 10 years later, his son comes in, Charles II, and then he's like a partier.
Sounds
about right.
Sounds right.
We will double check, and like if
as
if
much
we're
as
wrong,
both of us agree that we like history, I'm like really afraid to like spew facts out.
I know, because somebody out there will probably know a little bit more than us.
My brother's a history teacher, and he's gonna be like, "I'm done listening."
That's my
to
dream
this.
job, you know.
Really?
Yeah, being a history teacher.
Really?
Yeah.
Actually, I want to. Is that?
Yeah, it's honestly something I wanted to do since I was younger.
Wow.
It was always something. I like history. I like teaching.
There you go.
And I've always wanted to do it.
Okay, so I don't know what to ask you first. What do you like about history? What you like about podcasts? But I think I want to start with podcasts.
Yeah, let's start with podcasts.
Why do you listen to podcasts?
I just like the ability just to kind of listen to things. Like, I mean, technology has come so far in the recent years, that you can just like listen. You don't have to go to a talk show. You don't have to sit by a radio to listen to people, blammer, and then hear music for 15 minutes or whatever. I think it's just interesting to hear like just people talk for like 15 minutes.
But about what?
Anything, honestly. I listen to, like stories, like, those scary, like true crime stories type thing. I listen to some of those, which are like, you get into them for some reason. You just get into them, and then you just like sit there for like 2 hours, just like talking about crime and stuff. But, or even, like you said, history podcasts, are pretty interesting to me too. You just hear, different things that go on that you didn't even know about.
Right.
But it's all just in your ears as you're walking down the street.
Okay.
Having fun.
Okay.
You could just put it on while you're cleaning your room, and you're like, wow, I didn't know that.
Okay.
It's one of the big things.
So do you like fact-based or opinions? Like, so I was describing the Revelations podcast. The reason why I liked it is because it wasn't someone giving their opinions on something. It was someone telling a story. Yeah. Which is my favorite thing about history is the story.
The story
and he's really good at telling the story.
Honestly, the history is one of probably the best books ever written, in my opinion. That's what I always say.
Right.
History is one of the best stories ever written because it's literally there.
Okay.
About it.
But what about two guys like us? Would you listen to two guys like us who are just like talking?
Yeah. I
just sharing their brain unchecked?
Yeah. Unchecked, maybe not.
Okay.
But we know we check each other. I feel like.
Okay, but who's going to check us? Yeah, see, like who's going to repercuss us if we don't each other?
Fair point.
Yeah, other than our audience, unless they agree with us.
That's fair.
Our audience of two. We've been assured we have two listeners. Thank you, Jason Muxlow.
Okay, I figured it was somebody like
and
that. And
maybe Father Tony. Shout out to Flint Community Podcast. Yeah.
Well, I think it depends on what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Nerd stuff, sure, I'll listen to them. But like,
okay.
I don't know.
I realized
political podcasts.
I realized I have to make a disclaimer. I do listen to more than I think I do because I do follow a couple YouTube channels when they talk about Star Wars theories.
That's a vodcast.
Okay.
A little bit different.
Yeah.
But pretty much the same premise.
Yeah.
Which is pretty much what we're doing here.
Right. So I guess I do listen to podcasts.
You do listen to podcasts.
It's just there's certain ones that I don't. Mm-hmm. If someone's So I'll explain why I don't like them so that I can better appreciate. Yeah. The end goal for me is not to rant. The end goal is to appreciate what people appreciate. My problem is that I don't like someone's ideas getting into my head, and I'm very careful about what ideas get into my brain. Like I like thinking my thoughts, and I like things that are true.
Yeah.
And when someone's just going on a rant, I feel like that gets into my brain, and then I accept that as my own opinion. Yeah. And I haven't yet been able to filter, do I really believe that, or is that person now in my head?
Mm-hmm. No, I understand.
So if you listen to something and you're like, I just don't agree with that, how do you deal with that? Not that I'm against hearing a differing opinion, But I like differing opinions presented on a platform that's
equal platform. I mean, like when you, I see what you're saying, like because when you listen to a podcast, like there's no one to respond to that person.
Right.
Like you have your own opinions. Like you could totally disagree with what we're saying, but you can't like at that moment say, well, I disagree with you.
Okay.
You know, so they're here. I think what you're thinking is like, oh, they're here. They have this platform. I don't. Is that what
I'm not afraid of the platform.
No, I don't understand. Yeah. But like their opinions are like, I can't challenge that. And so it gets in your head a little bit. Is that what you're saying?
I feel like I download it almost as my own opinion, even though I'm like, I actually don't think that. But now that idea is in my head. Which I think a lot of like lately, like news TV and talk radio is like that. It's just ideas downloading into your head that you actually don't believe, but you're being told that you should believe that.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, for me, I just don't listen to a lot of like political-based podcasts. I mean, which is probably one of the best ways to avoid it. You know, just don't expose yourself to it. You
know, by saying that, we're gonna have a guest on here who likes those things, and we're gonna have to understand what they like.
Not saying I don't like it,
and that's the goal.
I mean, I just don't watch it. You know, I just don't listen to it a lot. I mean, you're right. We do have to have someone on here who listens to political podcasts to talk about it and why they listen to it and what they do.
So that'll be one of our rules. Anytime we say something we don't like, we have to have a guest on that can defend that thing.
So, I mean, so that's this main thing that I just, like, don't do it.
Okay.
But if I were to, personally, I just, you know, especially if it's a topic that you're, like, strongly believed in, you know, you just be confident in your beliefs. Like, that's personally the thing. I'm very confident in what I believe in. So, you know, even if someone's like, oh, telling me, I'm not afraid to change my opinions based on facts. And, you know, if I say something that's like false, if I believe it's something that's just wrong, and then someone comes to me and they're like, oh, well, here's why this, and this, then maybe I can change my opinion. I'm open to that.
Right.
But I'm not going to, if someone's just on the podcast, you know, just yelling at me, ranting about, you know, like Wayne, this is doing it. You know, I'm just going to be like, well, I believe this, and I'm strongly believing this. So I'm going to keep my beliefs to myself. You know, I'm going to keep my strength unless I am proven in my own mind to change, you know?
That's very
confident. I mean, opinions are very confident.
Very mature of you,
yeah,
Sean.
Appreciate it.
I like that.
I mean, it's just very, you know, very confidence-based.
Okay.
Know? That's what opinions are, in my opinion.
Yes.
In my opinion, you got to be confident to have opinions.
Interesting.
Because if you're not... I mean, you can be unconfident in your opinion. But then that way, like you said, if you're listening to podcasts, then you're just like, oh, wow, maybe that should be better.
Like your opinions yesterday when you tried to convince me that Return of the King is not a good movie. And I was like, you're entitled to your opinions even though you're wrong.
Okay. Not that it's not a bad movie. No, now we have to look at the camera and address
let's address this because I believe that Lord of the Rings trilogy is the greatest cinematic experience ever put to film.
I think it is one of the best. I think it's one of the best. Does it not... Are you saying it has, like, no flaws? Is that what you're saying? Are you saying, like...
If it was a graded paper, it would be 95.5.
Okay. Well, I just don't like the pacing of the third movie.
Which you talked about.
Which is what I talked about. I mean...
And I think we could have a whole episode about that, but we would need to talk about it, where I talk about what I appreciate about Return of the King and what you don't, and then... But hopefully by the end you understand what I love about it.
Oh, I'm sure I can. You know, okay. I mean, I love it too. I'm not saying like, I mean, I've read the books, all the books, you know. So I've read.
Do you really like the books?
Yeah, I think the books are great.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, I recently, like 2 months ago, right? I picked up Have you ever heard of the Silmarillion?
Yes.
I read that. It was amazing. I mean, it just pretty much like it's like the Bible quote
of
Lord of the Rings
of Middle Earth. Yeah.
I mean, so I love the books. And, you know, so I love the movies too, but just the third movie to me is just off, and I don't know why.
We'll talk about it.
We'll talk about it. But you know, I have to rewatch it though. I will have to rewatch it.
Don't watch the version where every time Sam gets closer to Mordor, they go back to the time where he's like one more step, and I am further than I've ever been in my entire life.
When I watch that,
it comes up on my queue now. I think because you told me about it.
Yeah.
It keeps showing up in my YouTube queue of it's 10 hours long of every time Sam says.
I think I saw it on Instagram or something like that. I saw it as like just a picture
of
the
thing is, you said you watched the whole thing.
I've watched the whole thing. That's the thing. That's the bad thing about it. I've watched the entire 10 hours. I sat there. It was like a whole night. It was like from 9 a.m. until like, 6 or 9 a.m. I can't remember. But how long?
Wow.
So it was full. Like, I just watched
That's committed.
It was
committed. I mean,
I
I would have fast forwarded and found all the funny parts, but I don't think I would have ever committed to something like that because I have
I've done
kids.
it both. The first time I watched it
Yeah.
was I just like in the comments. There's like the best parts. You know, people like tag the time frames. You know, it's like at this time it's like funny, but no, I watched that first time, and then the second time I was like, let me just sit through this thing.
Yeah.
I had snacks and everything. I was like,
wow.
I was like loaded. I was loaded. It was awesome.
That's committed.
It's.
I should also preface that though this is not a podcast about our work, that our work tends to get involved in what we do, and so this is not overtly like any like a spiritual podcast or a church podcast. We both volunteer and work for the church.
Yep.
You volunteer and work for the church. I work full time for the church. But this is just we're at VBS 2021.
Yep.
And we're the tech crew managing the tech crew. We are the tech crew who manages the actual tech crew, which are a couple of 8th graders running the tech, the sound and the video and the lights and all that. The room we're in right now is a boring room. It's just white.
When you get
walls.
like a paint job in here, like
well,
a mural.
Okay. I mean, it is what it is. But out there in that room, there's like really exciting superhero stuff going on. There's like Justice League or Jesus League banners all over the place.
Justice League.
Look at these shirts.
It's very similar.
And there's just the kids are having a blast. There's lights going on. This is a boring
water day. I think they're having water day, like water games here.
Even though it rains today.
No, that's why I said
water day. All you have to do is walk outside.
Yeah, that's what I said on the way here.
If you watch this later, this is that week of June in 2021 where it rained for 2 weeks straight.
2 weeks. Yesterday, right?
Okay.
So I'm in this like Facebook group for like Grand Blanc people, and someone had posted pictures of all the damage caused by those storms. Like there were full trees down. Like my grandma works at this lady's house in like downtown Grand Blanc, and she was like cleaning the house for them, and she helps around the house for them. And she looked outside, and there's just a tree, like a pine tree, had fallen between the condos, like right there. It was like missed their house by like inches. She was like, "That's crazy." So all the damage, and someone had posted on Facebook like, look at all this damage, And I said, I think I could take care of that with a flamethrower for about 150. I said it like a country guy too, so I was like, I reckon. I literally said, I reckon I could fix that, fix this dare damage, dare damage for FER about 150. And to my surprise, the lady who posted the thing commented. She goes, "Well, we're waiting," with like a gif of like so I said, "On my way," and then I like sent a gif with like some kid with a flamethrower. It was amazing. It was awesome. I love just.
Did you actually show up with a chainsaw, or was this just a joke?
I don't have a flamethrower. I have a chainsaw.
A chainsaw though. I mean,
no, I don't.
Oh, I wasn't sure if they were taking you seriously.
I hope not.
Okay.
I hope they're not expecting some kid just to walk out there with a flamethrower and just be like. I mean, I could.
Okay.
I mean, who's Elon Musk is selling those things for like 200. I mean, gotta love it. Gotta love it.
Are they for space? Do you get to take them to space?
Have you not seen those?
No.
You haven't seen the? Oh my goodness. No, there's. If you look up, I'll show you after. But there's a Elon Musk developed under Tesla a flamethrower. He made like 500 of them.
And that's why the stock shot up.
Probably.
Yeah, it wasn't space. It was the flamethrowers.
It wasn't space.
It wasn't the cars.
No.
Flamethrowers. That's what we need more of in this world.
He's like, he saw how bad the truck did. The Tesla truck did, and he's like, I gotta throw something out there.
Guys, gotta throw something out there. So anyway, we're getting off task. This is worse than episode 1A. What episode 1B is way more off track. See, okay. So I was. Anything else you want to defend about podcasts to someone who doesn't like them?
Not really.
Okay. I feel like you made your case.
I think you just just find something, find a topic, man.
Yeah.
It's all about topics. If you find a topic, like you said, Star Wars or whatever, and then you get into that. Like, I mean, I play a video game, right? It's called Skyrim. It's like a medieval.
Yeah, I'm familiar with Skyrim.
So there's this podcast that I've listened to where he literally just reads the books of the universe, and so it's like a 300 episode podcast, and he's still making episodes. But it's like a 2-minute episode of him just reading books from the universe. So
Okay.
just find a topic you like, try it out.
Okay.
So
I have tried out history, but I really like that specific podcast.
Oh, yeah.
But literally for me, sometimes it's just the time, because
Yeah.
I do a lot of thinking.
Yeah.
And I do a lot of, and this, you can ask me why I like this, but a lot of actual practice on the piano of classical music. And it takes up any extra brain space that I have when I'm done helping my wife with the house and the kids and driving them to their lessons and their school stuff and VBS and you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I get it.
And when I have a second, I don't necessarily want to listen to someone else talk to me. I want to I get okay. So you were supposed to ask me why I like that.
Why you like what? The classical music or
yeah.
Oh, okay, I was going to, but then you continue to talk.
No. Okay, so we can put that in the subject. Yeah. What was that? It was like a push up in the air.
But no, why classical music? Okay.
Whoa.
So you said classical music, right?
Yes.
So why? What is draws?
It's like a 300-year podcast.
Wow, what a way to tie it up like
yes.
that. What a way to tie it around. I love
Franz
that.
Liszt speaks to me from, 1850.
Yeah.
I don't know how many years that actually is. I should know that. I have
about
a couple degrees in the genre. What's the math?
About 170.
Okay, so it's a 170-year podcast for me, but it's not obvious. And so what I love about the genre is it's not meant to be listened to in your headphones. Though you can listen to a lot of classical music, and I do, but generally it's hard to get it. And this is why people have a hard time getting into it. For instance, my sister-in-law is not into it. Okay? And so maybe in this podcast she's hearing me and I might be able to defend my case.
Yeah.
My wife's sister, we're very close. They're in our social pod. You know what a social pod is?
I do indeed.
The COVID social pod.
Yeah.
You had to have your social pod.
Of course.
You and one other family. Of
course.
You were that was the only family you were going to see at Thanksgiving.
It's my neighbors.
So my brother and sister-in-law, Kathy and Matthew, they were our social pod for an entire year. Anyway, but there's some things about what she likes that I don't like, and I'm going to have her on the podcast and explain why our shared Netflix queue is all crime and horses.
It's my mom too.
Crime
and horses.
Horses.
That's a very interesting choice. She'll have to talk about that a little bit.
Sometimes it's like Heartland, which is about horses, and sometimes it's like the serial killers of the 1950s. And I'm like, how can you watch this at night? Anyway, we'll have her on.
Yeah.
But my thing about classical music, so it wasn't meant to be recorded.
Yeah.
Because there was no recording medium at the time. Maybe some early, what do you call those? Not the records, but I don't know. Anyway,
I don't know either.
The early ones.
The early ones.
Phonograph? Is that the word? Correct us. We like our audience to repercuss us. Yes. We like there to be repercussions.
I know what you're talking
whatever
about.
we say incorrectly, we hope that you text us that we are a couple of idiots. Yeah. So I'll say that about myself. I'm pretty. I'm kind of okay. I can be dumb. So anyway, I get it. I gotta talk about lists so that we can stay on track.
Yep.
So, was not meant to be recorded. Yep. It was meant to be shared experience, either live on stage, which was generally a new thing for Franz Liszt. He was like the original rock star.
Yeah.
He had an audience. He toured Europe. He was amazing. But it was pretty much like small room chamber experience, which is different than a concert. So imagine in a court or like a big room, you got a piano and they're sharing it with you. It could be at after dinner. So it was here's this thing I've written today, but there's no TV, there's no other things. This is what they're doing that night other than maybe playing cards, and they're going to share this music with each other, and it's like a shared experience. You can talk about it. They can comment back. They're not necessarily supposed to be quiet the whole time and clap at the end. Yeah. It was meant to be a shared experience. And, the only way you were going to get a copy of that wasn't to, listen to it. It was get the sheet music in the post and then put it at your piano, and then you were going to play it and share that with your family. You're like, oh, look what Beethoven wrote this week, or last month, or by the time you got it in the mail.
No, for sure.
And it was supposed to be shared. It was supposed to be live, and it was supposed to be an experience. And so I feel like the only way to experience classical music is to do it that way. Either like someone playing, and you have them in a room, and they're playing for you, and then you play for them, or in a concert hall where it's done at the highest level. I mean, the appreciation that I have is like when I go to the symphony, it is at the highest level. Yeah. People who are doing nothing but practicing that instrument, and now there's 100 of them. Yeah. And then you get this symphonic experience, and it's a sound that you can't get from a speaker. Oh, yeah. It's a sound that just totally takes your whole brain over.
I think that's one of the things that I appreciate most about music. I mean, especially like high music like that. I mean, these people have spent, blood, sweat, and tears into these instruments, and
right.
For years and years of their life.
Yeah.
And you just see them play at their highest level, and you're like, wow, you just experience that. But I agree.
Now, on the opposite of that, like the 3.5-minute song on your iPod, I also appreciate iPod. Wow. Sorry, Sean. I just.
It is now 2011. I know what an iPod is.
Okay.
I do, indeed.
All right.
It's just funny that you said iPod.
3.5-minute song.
Yeah.
Like the radio song, or the Spotify song, or the YouTube music song. I appreciate that because you have to squeeze the most amount of good ideas in the smallest amount of time. So it is like the opposite of classical music, and I appreciate both for their own things. Like you get to you watch movies, talk about character development.
Yeah.
Classical music can have character development, and that 3.5-minute song cannot. But you have to have your best ideas to soundbite. Yeah. And I appreciate that for what it is, and I appreciate the genre of classical music for what it is, but you have to get into it, and it comes with a bit of homework. Yeah. So I believe that you have to know what you're listening to, and even sometimes study the score, which is why it turns most people off, because it requires a bit of a
academic feel.
Yeah, like some pre-reading before you show up to a lecture, and the lecturer says, "Did you do the reading? Because you're going to get lost in this lecture unless you did the reading." Yeah. It's like that.
Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, and so movie scores, though, the reason why movie scores work is because it's almost the same genre. Almost. We would call that in classical music programmatic music, where it's got like the music means something because you're supposed to have a visual in your mind.
Okay.
Movie music gives you an actual visual, so you can tie into your mind what the musician is doing based on what the story is, because you know the story from watching the movie and you have a visual context. Classical music is hard because you don't have a visual context, and I'm a very visual person. So it's actually a little bit difficult for me to get into, but because it's difficult, that's why I get into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. No, I agree. I like getting into things that I just don't understand completely,
Yeah.
So.
Should we talk about more things, or we should hold that for episode 2?
I don't know. How do you feel? I feel like it was
episode 2.
Episode 2.
Attack of the
baseball prequels.
Baseball prequels. Good tie-in. Yeah, we're looks like on our cue we've got. I'm gonna defend the prequels.
And I'm gonna defend baseball.
I'm gonna defend. Sitting by water for long periods of time.
And then, what do I got? Video games?
Video games.
You should put down musicals for me.
Musicals?
Yeah, I like musicals. It's a weird thing.
I like that you're going to talk about musicals. I like that you're going to talk about video games, because I haven't done that since high school.
Oh, for sure.
And I might need to understand it a little bit so I don't judge you.
I promise I do not stay up until 2 a.m. anymore.
But it's, again, this podcast is about appreciating things that you might not normally. So I hope, you ask me more questions about, as an audience. I can't get into classical music, and I can explain more. That was kind of my teaser. But I have a couple degrees in it. It's a big part of my, not necessarily my church work, but like I also teach at an academic level at a university. And I'm passionate about why it needs to be a rediscovered
It's like a lost
genre in our culture.
I don't think it's a lost art specific.
No,
I just think it's like
I think there's just obscure. Yeah, I think there's just an association of being a little bit like academic.
Yeah. Little like can't access it. Like because I'm not like 160
right, but I think
IQ.
it's very accessible.
Yeah.
In good contexts, which is why I'm a proponent of getting people that experience, which I've experienced. But I'll stop talking about classical music. But you want to talk about musicals? You want to talk about baseball? Yeah. I want to talk about Star Wars prequels. I also might talk about that a lot.
Yeah.
I'm a huge prequel
part.
defender, especially to people who don't understand it, which I think there's a lot of people.
Which one's your favorite though?
3. Yeah. And I will also, please, I hope I don't lose any fans on this. I have come to terms, which I think it's my favorite Star Wars movie. Even better than Empire Strikes Back. I'm sorry, I hope you don't walk away on that. And I think Empire Strikes Back is a near perfect movie, but I will talk about that at a later date.
That's a big, fiery thing to say.
It is a huge, fiery thing to say that I think that Episode 3 is my favorite Star Wars film.
Interesting.
And I will explain why. It's a hard... The prequels are hard to understand, which is why they weren't successful for the mainstream Star Wars audience.
I feel like we need a longer moment for this. Okay. So we'll save we'll save your explanation for that.
I also think there was a couple of friends I want to have who are also share this opinion.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
That I think would appreciate talking on a podcast about why they think they are a different appreciation.
Can't wait.
Yeah. We're gonna have Colton. We're gonna have him talk about like chess and leather making.
Leather making?
But he doesn't make leather. Apparently. He makes things out of leather. We talked about this with Colton.
5 minutes ago.
Yeah, we were like, he doesn't make the leather.
He doesn't make the leather.
He makes things out of leather.
Yeah.
We want John Hill to talk about jazz.
Jazz.
Yeah.
Yep, jazz.
We want... there's a bunch of things.
Okay, for me, music in general, I have a very varied taste in music, right? Like, if you look at my like songs on Spotify or whatever, you know, you'll see it can go from, you know, Frank Sinatra to like, you know, like Jason Aldean to, you know, Britney Spears to Metallica. You know, like I bounce around a lot. Yeah. And like, I appreciate all music, you know. I jazz I can appreciate and be like, you know, I respect, you know, why you listen to it. I probably won't listen to it like you do, like John Hill does, but you know, I respect it. One genre though, I cannot respect.
Okay.
Ska.
Okay, be careful when you say that, because we're gonna have to have someone who I know several people who appreciate
Mike
ska.
Wilson. I know Mike Wilson.
Yeah, he's
really
huge
likes ska
person.
My brother really likes ska, but
one of my brothers is big on ska.
So, you know, I just don't see it. I
know.
So we'll see what they can do. You know, if they can kind of change my mind.
Yeah.
But I just can't see it. I don't know why.
Okay.
That's just the one thing.
Well, now that you said it.
I know it's gotta happen.
It's gotta happen.
It's gotta happen. We got a list of things that.
Be careful what you say. You can't get into.
I know. They could change my mind completely. I could get into it. I could be, you know, the next ska person of the, you know, next ska generation.
And I feel like appreciating things, and I think we should end here.
Yep.
But the reason why I think appreciating things that you have normally not appreciate is a bit of growth, and I think it is one of the best things that you can do in this world is appreciate what someone else appreciates about something.
For sure.
I grew up watching the Olympics, and I never understood curling. Everyone makes fun of curling, I feel like. And then the last Olympics, my wife and I got really into curling. We were watching that sport more than anything else. That and I got really into the cross country skiing, and I never thought I was going to get into that. And I was like glued at one of the races.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Like you'd be surprised at the things that you just like. You're like, and then you're like,
and then all of a sudden it just fascinates you. So, grow with us. We're not going to talk to you as if we know things about life. We're going to try to understand things about life that our friends appreciate and appreciate what they appreciate.
A lot of appreciate.
Maybe that's the name of this podcast. Appreciate what they appreciate. No, that's just dumb.
No, that's a little repetitive for me.
Yeah.
Keep ripping on your head. All right.
Well, you know, this has been a good conversation. I hope this is the successful episode 1B, and we can actually air this.
Indeed. I was trying to find the last audience. My mom's like, "Oh, I can't find the episode." I'm like,
"Yeah, I deleted it."
Oh. Dan probably is like, "Yeah, I don't know."
Yeah.
All right. Should we do like a freeze frame high five? Is that what we should do?
Yeah. Ready,
right.
and...
Okay, there it is.